All right, this is the video overview for circuit workout number 2, band only. You should not be watching this one first. You should have watched, you didn't have to do it, but at least watch the first circuit video because there's a spiel at the beginning about safety and some other factors that you need to watch first. So if you didn't, please go back and do that. If you did, you're good to go, and we're gonna get right to the new exercises. So, just like all our other circuits, we're starting with a very simple core exercise. For this one, it's our front planks, okay? Remember, we made the transition from hover to planks recently, okay? But again, you're just modifying that based on where you're at. So if you've been doing it for a while, you need to extend the time a little bit, go for it. If you need to do a different variation, like with some knee tucks, go for it, okay? But just remember, don't overdo it, right? It's like a starter, right? So you shouldn't be like annihilating yourself on this first core exercise, so you're gassed for the rest of the workout, okay? Then we're gonna start getting into our band exercises. Remember, we're alternating between upper and lower and pushing and pulling for the upper. So our first exercise is our band side hover rows, okay? So remember, I'm gonna be in a good side hover position with my hips locked down, that top shoulder pulled back. I'm squeezing in, I'm tucking that elbow near my ribs. And as that band goes out, I'm not letting it pull my top shoulder back, right? I'm maintaining that good posture and that good alignment. And the big key for this, big mistake I see is, when we go to row, it's not tight to start. There's slack, right? So there's slack, and then it only gets tight near the end, and we're not really getting the benefit of the row there, okay? So just make sure that you're far enough away from your anchor, from your starting position, that it's tight the whole time, okay? But you still get that full range of motion, okay? Then we're gonna skip to our first lower body exercise, which is our band hip raises, or band hip extensions rather, okay? This might look different, these hip extensions, for each one of us depending on our body composition and also what band thickness we have, right? So if we have thicker bands, we might have to stay closer and go at a slower tempo versus if we have thinner bands or medium bands like I have, we can maybe move further away or go at a faster, more violent tempo, okay? But either way, the form should be the same. But remember, I commented on this in the first video, whenever we're getting inside one of these guys, we want to make sure our shorts are tied, right? So they're not sliding down and messing up with the flow of the circuit, okay? So for this, I'm going to utilize a low anchor position, okay? Probably most of us will be able to do that. If it's too tight, you could always raise it up, okay? So first I'm going to get inside here. Now, I would suggest using a wider stance and pointing your toes out even more than you would normally do, okay? The reason being is, depending on how thick that band is, we might have a lot of tension pulling us or yanking us back. It's a little safer, a little bit easier to balance that way. It also actually allows us to get a little bit more fluidity in our hips by having a little bit of a wider stance, okay, which is important in this. So regardless of what band thickness we're using, the form should look, we're sitting and squatting, that will let that band pull our hips back, and then our arms and hips are going opposite each other. So I'm violent and extending, and as I extend those hips out, my arms are going back, okay? Remember, they're working in opposites, right? So again, I'm sitting nice and low, controlled, all right? I'm sitting on his heels, and I'm violent out, okay? And again, whatever tempo you use, whether it's a little bit more faster, a little bit more of a pause in between, okay? You can mix and match that or vary that based on you and your needs for your specific sport, okay? So that's our hip extensions, okay? The next upper body exercise is our single arm band presses, okay? Now for these, right, we can do these from a standing position, okay? Like this, okay? We can do the kneeling instead, right? I could slide this down. I would suggest starting from a standing position, okay? But regardless, we're doing a pressing exercise. Remember, not this way, straight out, okay, with a single arm. So the nice part about this, again, is you get a lot of that anti-rotational core action going on here. So by not twisting and by not rotating and engaging that core and keeping a consistent posture, we get that added benefit, right? So when you do this, you want to make sure that the anchor is almost directly behind your shoulder. Sometimes I see us make a mistake in the weight room. We're over here and it like yanks on our shoulder, or we're too far this way and it like wraps around us as we're going, right? So you want that arm path to be consistent, straight out and straight back, okay? And I need to do that by having the anchor right behind my shoulder, okay? So from there, I'm pressing out and controlling back. And if you watch, I'm not rotating or twisting, right? Okay, I'm just extending that arm out to just about full extension and then controlling back, okay? So again, if I was here from the side, you'd see this position, not this and this, not a twisting, out and back, okay? Keep that belly button pointed straight ahead the entire time. Okay, our next one is our single band squats. So for this, and some of our other, you'll see this in some of our other circuit workouts, you're gonna need something to step up on, or at least put your foot up onto, okay? So for me at my house, the best thing I found to use is a cooler that has some weights put inside of it, okay? I found just an empty cooler, it kept tipping over, it kept sliding around. So put some weights inside of it, it's sufficient. But you could use a chair, just really anything that you have that's safe, you're not gonna break, it's not gonna tip over on you, okay? So for this, we're gonna add the resistance. We're gonna do our regular single leg squat, right? So what is that? Our foot's up behind, we hop out a nice lunge position, we're going nice and low, and when we're coming up, we have that proud chest, we're not hunching forward, right? Essentially, we're doing that same thing, we're just using this to add a little bit of resistance. And we accomplish that by putting that, okay, on under the down foot. So for this, I'm gonna put my right foot down, taking that band and putting it back on my shoulders, very similar to the spot I would put it if I was squatting, okay, in the weight room with a bar. And then I'm gonna put that foot up. I'm gonna take my time hopping out. If you need to post up on the wall, that's fine. And now from here, I'm doing my single leg squats, right? So I'm doing the same exercise, okay, just adding a little bit of resistance through this. Again, like a lot, you're gonna hear me commenting about this a lot with our lower body. It's really easy to change your tempo for that, right? Go slower and controlled, pause at different times, or be more explosive and maybe even get some air to your feet and add a dynamic part to it, okay? So, that's it for the single leg squats. Like I said, all one side then the other. The next upper body is our band pull downs, okay? Now, this one, it seemed like a simple one, but I actually ended up playing around with it a lot because what I was finding was if I attempted to do the regular double version, it was sliding on me. It kept sliding down, okay? So you might have something you could wrap it around where you could do the traditional, both arms at the same time. But for me, I wasn't able to do that on this safely or without it being a giant pain in the butt, okay? So I ended up doing a single arm version, okay? So again, I have a nice high anchor and I'm just doing a single arm lat pull down, right? So I'm tucking out, I'm not rocking forward, right? I have a slight lean back and I'm squeezing in here, okay? We could do these from this position. We could even do them from a seated position where it looks just like we're doing our lat pull downs, right? Okay, just like that look. Just like it would if we were on a machine, except I'm doing it with that single arm, okay? So again, if you have the ability to do both at the same time, and that's what I have in the program, that's fine, but we might have to do this modification if we only have a single anchor to go off of, okay? Next one is, is our single leg band RDL row. This is like one of my favorite new exercises because it adds a lot of core and a lot of balance, okay, to the equation. So if you've never done these before, the important part is to find your balance point first and then try to move, okay? And if you're doing this correctly, you're gonna feel a lot of core, okay? The other thing is, where you anchor this really impacts what muscles get worked. So what I've found is the lower that anchor is, the more hamstring you're gonna get. The higher, the more you're gonna get a little bit lower abdominal and kind of hip flexor and maybe even a little bit low back, okay? So what I would say is, hey, depending on your sport, depending on your body composition or what you're going for, you could adjust that. I'm gonna kind of cut it in half and put it in the middle here, okay? Like kind of thigh height, so you can see a little bit of the factors of each, okay? But again, if you're looking for more of a hamstring exercise for this, I would simply just lower, right? So all we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of go opposite. So normally when we do our RDLs with like a dumbbell, we start tall and we finish with in a down position, right? We finish essentially with that dumbbell here in our body parallel to the ground as our heel comes up, right? We're actually gonna start there with the bands and go the opposite way, right? So instead of finishing there, I'm gonna start in this position here, okay? So my heel is straight up behind me, okay? That leg's relatively straight. It's remember, same arm, same leg here. So my right foot is down, the band is in my right arm, okay? Now for this, I'm going to bring my knee up and I'm gonna row in, Okay, so you can, listen, you can, if you want, you can go opposite arm, opposite leg for this if you're a baseball or softball player. But I would try to, for most of us, stick to the same arm, same leg. Again, because it's going to get that hamstring a little bit more, okay? But if baseball and softball athletes, if you're doing this, you remember us instructing it opposite arm, opposite leg. That's very sport specific for you because it works opposite of how we throw. But again, for most of us, I would do same arm, same leg because that's what you're used to in the weight room with the dumbbells, okay? So again, from here, I'm starting in this position, I'm gonna pull or row in, and I'm gonna control out, okay? That's it. So this is a lot of hamstring right now. You're gonna see me, balancing's interesting looking this direction, okay? But I'm finishing in that march position. Whether you have your arm extended, whether you get a little pull in, it's, not much of a difference there. The big thing is the body position, okay? If you want to add a little row in, that's fine. If you want to keep your arm extended straight out, that's fine. But just, we're in that good RDL position. So we're finishing with our heel and our body flat. Ideally, we're looking straight ahead. I know I was looking at you guys in the camera, okay? But our eyes are straight ahead. Don't look down. That's the biggest thing. A lot of us look down when we do our RDLs, or especially our single leg, and our body is in a bad alignment then, okay? And it puts too much on our lower back, all right? So, all one leg and the other. Then our next one is a simple one. I'll use this band here. We're gonna do our band military press. So, I'm gonna think a lot of us are gonna do it the way I'm gonna demo, but you could do these with a single arm. I'm gonna do it by stepping inside, okay, the band, starting with it, so I'm inside. I'm looped under both my feet right now, and I'm gonna start my collarbone and extend straight up overhead, okay, and that's it. We could also do these, okay, with a single arm, like this, so getting inside of it and pressing up. If we had two bands, we could do them this way, right? Some of us have done them that way a bunch in the weight room, okay? But again, the military press is just top of the collarbones to extending those arms overhead, okay? Good depth. A lot of us want to stop at our chin. Get all the way down here if you can, okay? And then our last exercise, technically lower body, but I like to think of this as a great core exercise, is our band resisted bird dogs. So you don't have to do them with the band resistance. If you're just a novice at bird dogs, or you're just gassed by the time you get to this point, and you're like, man, I can't, or you have a really thick band, like I would only do these band bird dogs if you have like a thinner band like this. I would not attempt to do these with a really thick band. Just do the traditional bird dogs in, okay? But remember with our bird dogs, let's see if I can get a good angle here. We're extending, right? We're not raising. Raising is Superman, right? We want to extend opposite arm and heel at the same time, so we have a straight line from our fingertips to our heel. And the big thing there is we're squeezing that butt cheek. So the leg that is extending, we want to squeeze that butt cheek so it engages our lower back, okay? Great injury prevention for our low back, okay? Now how this will work with the band is we're just going to go opposite, right? So for me, I'm going to loop it under my left foot and then put it through the thumb of my right hand. So it's kind of going through my midline here, through my crotch area, okay? And then from here, I'm going to do that same extension. So I'm just adding a resistance component here. Okay, so again, I'm extending opposite hand and heel, and that tension's building. I'm squeezing that butt cheek, okay? And again, you might just have to do these on air. Like I wouldn't recommend trying to do that with a really thick band. Some of us might be able to, but again, full extension. If we're tall, if we're long, getting that full extension with a medium or a thick band, it's probably not going to happen, okay? So that is the entire circuit. Those are the 9 exercises, okay? Make sure you do all 3 rounds before you get to your core. Once you've crushed all 3 rounds, then move on to those final 2 core exercises as a finisher, okay? Now, the core exercises, we have our knee tucks and our chops, okay? Both with the band. So the band, I'm gonna demo these, and you might be able to do either one with a thicker band, depending. Especially some of our heavier athletes. I'm thinking like some of our linemen, football guys, you might be able to do, especially the chops or the thicker band. I'm gonna demo with a thin band, and I would suggest that's probably, for a lot of us, the better one to use anyway, because it's gonna allow you to get full range of motion. I would much rather, for both, you use a thinner band and just move further away and get the good range of motion than to try to use the thicker band and be restrictive, right? Only going halfway or 2/3 of the way, okay? So for the first one, my knee tucks, I'm just gonna do a resisted knee tuck. And we could accomplish these a bunch of different ways. You can do this with a stability ball, okay? But you want a pretty low anchor here. Now from this position, I'm gonna wrap these around my knees. I also like to hold on to it too, okay? I'm not actually pulling with my arm, but I'm kind of just holding it in position so it doesn't slide, okay? Now from here, what I wanna try to do is extend my legs, okay? I'll go this way, is extend out. I'll show you from a different angle then in a second too, okay? And crunch in. So I'm extending and crunching back, extending and crunching back. I would just be careful, any low back people, okay? If you want, you could always lay on your back, okay? So if you're feeling like, it's irritating my lower back, or it's too hard to balance on your butt, you could just lay down and do them this way, okay? And extend and crunch, extend and crunch, okay? And again, let me show you from this angle, right? So I could extend, crunch, band here, okay? Harder would be balancing this way, extending and crunching. So again, mix and match based off of your ability level, your comfort level, any pre-existing injuries or things. Just be smart with that. The other one is the chop, right? It's the chop. So for this one, we need a high anchor, okay? So how you hold your hands can slightly tweak the exercise a little bit. I'll show you both ways. Honestly, I wouldn't nitpick that. I would do whatever you feel most comfortable with. So what I mean is double overhand, so my palms are down, versus a staggered, one than the other, okay? Either way, okay, we're in a kneeling position. Sometimes you could do them from here as well, okay? A staggered stance, if you feel like it's pulling you that direction, propping that foot up will help give you a little bit more stability, okay? But again, I'm going at a downward angle across, okay, and violent here. So here, so I want to think about, what I want to do is taking this shoulder and driving it to my opposite knee. So we're here in this position, okay? You could do these, again, from here coming across. You could do them even standing if you have enough anchor here and coming across, okay? But again, that downward angle. So whether you're holding it, okay, with right here, both my palms are down and I'm twisting, or whether you're holding it one to the other, like alternating, okay, here and twisting, again, I want that nice downward chop. And I like to, again, almost think of these like a ball throwdown. You know how we're violent with our ball throwdowns, we're crunching. Same thing, we're just going at a slight angle across our body, okay? So there's a review for all the exercises of the circuit and the core, okay? Just make sure you don't omit anything. If there's anything you can't do, please reach out. If not, let's get after it. Go Lehigh.